Neighbors, pull up a chair and make sure your tea is piping hot, because the ground beneath Montecito is shaking. We need to talk about the biggest, most explosive question currently circulating in the royal stratosphere. Did Buckingham Palace, or perhaps our brilliant strategic Prince William, set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? And, in their infinite arrogance, were the Sussexes gullible enough to fall straight into it? The walls inside Buckingham Palace are reportedly shaking again, but this time it's not from fear. It's from the methodical turning of pages in dusty archives. And Meghan Markle? She is definitely not smiling for Instagram today. Now, I know you guys are excited for more Bortle, but before we delve into further discussion, if you haven't subscribed, come on guys, what are you waiting for? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell ASAP. So now, the whispers have turned into waves, and those waves are now crashing against the golden gates of the monarchy. People say the palace corridors have gone colder, the staff quieter, and the tension so thick you could slice it with a letter opener. Meghan, once the self-proclaimed sparkling star of royal modernity who thought she could reinvent the wheel, is now said to be pacing her Montecito mansion, clutching her phone as headlines across the globe whisper one terrifying phrase. The palace has reopened the files. We are talking about the S word, the surrogacy scandal. It has finally entered the mainstream media domain, and it is no longer just a conspiracy theory on Twitter. For years, Meghan thought she could outsmart the monarchy with glossy PR statements, carefully curated photo shoots, and those tear-stained monologues that made Oprah's audience gasp. She treated royal traditions as if they were optional, something she could reshape for her own convenience, like picking an outfit for brunch in Beverly Hills. But the palace? The palace doesn't forget. It never forgets. And now it seems they are done pretending everything was fine. This isn't minor gossip, neighbors. This isn't a tabloid headline spun out of thin air. This is constitutional. The monarchy isn't a Netflix drama where endings can be rewritten in the edit bay. It runs on law, legacy, and documents that must exist, be certified, and be sealed. Royal lineage isn't about charm or how good you look in a Dior dress. It is about proof, bloodlines, witnesses, records. Yet Meghan behaved as if the crown should just take her word for it because she once posed with a baby bump under the California sun. Buckingham Palace is reportedly being pressured, from within and without, to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she carried and delivered both babies herself. Rumors are swirling that the palace finally noticed what millions online have been whispering for years. Irregular papers, strange photos, unexplained amendments, and christening records that simply don't align with royal tradition. If this quiet review turns serious, Meghan's glittering fairy tale could crack faster than one of her failed brand deals. Because this time, it isn't about image or sympathy. It is about royal legitimacy. And no amount of warm lighting can rewrite a royal birth record. Let's look at the trap. Did William and the palace simply step back and let Meghan and Harry break all the rules, knowing that eventually those broken rules would invalidate their children's claims? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Meghan entered this world like it was a Hollywood set, assuming she could rewrite the script. But senior advisors reportedly noticed that when Meghan posted another wholesome family moment, Archie running in the garden, sunlight, laughter, it wasn't the smiles that caught their attention. It was what wasn't there. The missing confirmations, the unseen witnesses, the lack of traditional royal protocol. Remember Archie's birth? That was the first domino. For the first time in royal history, no official birth announcement was presented on the iconic golden easel outside the hospital. That wasn't just a snub to the press, it was a break in the chain of evidence. A centuries-old tradition, meant to confirm legitimacy and medical oversight, was skipped. To the palace administrators, it looked less like a royal birth and more like a Hollywood-managed reveal. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures, one source said, but instead, we got secrecy. And then, the amendment. When they reopened Archie's file, what they found made even the most seasoned clerks uneasy. The original certificate listed Meghan's legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, completely normal. But then, a month later, something changed. The document was altered to remove her name, replacing it with the title Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. No explanation, no public notice. Just a quiet edit that left experts confused. Meghan's team claimed the palace altered it without her consent, painting her as a victim. Palace whispers say the opposite, that Meghan requested it to look more royal. Two conflicting stories. No proof either way. Exactly the kind of mess that makes investigators raise eyebrows. And if Archie's documentation was strange, Lilibet's case sent the palace into panic mode. Born in California, June 4, 2021. The announcement didn't come from the palace or royal medical staff. It came straight from Harry and Meghan's PR team. No official UK medical witnesses, no royal midwives, no hospital documentation ever sent to the palace. Nothing. For the monarchy, that isn't just unusual. It is unacceptable. Royal births are constitutional events. They need witnesses to confirm the baby's place in the line. But Lilibet's birth felt more like a brand launch than a state event. Even the doctor linked to the birth quietly disappeared from public view shortly after. The palace has no witness chain, just press statements. Then came the christening scandal, the point where even the calmest clerk started panicking. The palace expected a traditional Anglican ceremony, as is required by royal law for those in the line of succession. But Meghan and Harry chose a private event in Montecito, officiated by Bishop John Taylor from the Episcopal Church, completely outside Anglican oversight. It was heartfelt, sure, but not legally recognized under royal tradition for the purpose of the line of succession. No Anglican registry, no official record, no confirmation in the Church of England archives. Even palace priests admitted, without documentation, it doesn't count. And let's talk about the photos. Palace reviewers began revisiting the Sussexes' family photos, the holiday cards, the portraits. What they saw raised quiet alarm. In some pictures, Archie looked far older than his official age. In others, lighting and shadows didn't align. Lilibet's images looked inconsistent, her head and reflections mismatched. Experts called it digital compositing. Even casual observers noticed how stiff Meghan's holds looked, like the children weren't interacting naturally. These aren't just aesthetic critiques, they are potential evidence problems. Royal photos are historical records. If those can't be trusted, then the palace has no choice but to verify everything else from scratch. This is the trap. The palace allowed Harry and Meghan to have their privacy. They allowed them to skip the easel. They allowed them to skip the Anglican christening. They allowed them to birth in California without witnesses. And now they can turn around and say, we have no proof. It is brilliant, really. Meghan's desire for control, her desire to hide everything, has become her biggest vulnerability. The less she allowed the monarchy to witness, the more the palace now has to verify. For Meghan, this review is the one thing she can't spin away. Her entire brand depends on that royal status. Netflix didn't sign them for their acting. Publishers didn't buy their memoirs for their writing talent. They bought the royal mystique. But if the foundation of that story cracks, if the palace says verification required, everything collapses. Investors hate uncertainty. Brands hate controversy. If the Sussex children's lineage remains under review, every business tied to that royal charm suddenly loses value. It is not just about titles. It is about millions of dollars and global influence. And for Meghan, that realization is said to have sent panic through her inner circle. She can control lighting. She can control magazine covers. She can control Oprah. But she cannot control lineage law. She cannot charm ancient paperwork. She cannot edit a birth record that doesn't exist. That is where her fear lies, not in public backlash, but in institutional silence. Because silence means the palace is working quietly, methodically, beyond her reach. One royal commentator said, just strip them of their titles. Enough is enough. And that is the sentiment echoing louder now than ever before. But the palace isn't chasing revenge. It is doing what it has always done, protecting the crown. Lineage isn't emotional. It isn't negotiable. It must be recorded, proven, and consistent with centuries of history. No matter how many interviews Meghan gives, she cannot narrate her way out of this. And Harry? Caught between love and loyalty, he is said to be restless, checking calls from the UK, arguing with advisors, pacing the hallways of Montecito. He knows what lineage means. He was born into it. And deep down, he also knows that if the palace questions his children's legitimacy on record, it is not just Meghan's reputation at stake. It is the family name itself. It is his legacy. And he walked right into this trap with his eyes wide open, led by a wife who thought she was smarter than a thousand-year-old institution. Inside the palace, the archivists and clerks aren't gossiping. They are verifying, line by line, date by date. And somewhere in one of those ancient offices filled with dust and silence, someone is rewriting the fate of modern royalty. Meghan built her empire on perception, but the crown thrives on permanence. And that is the unspoken tragedy of this whole saga. No matter how glamorous the photo, no matter how bright the smile, perception fades. But documents don't. So, neighbors, the question remains, was it a trap, or was it just the inevitable consequence of arrogance meeting tradition? I think we all know the answer. The gray suits played the long game. They let the Sussexes hang themselves with their own secrecy. And now the bill is coming due. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think the palace should demand DNA tests or public records? And do you think Harry and Meghan realized what they were doing when they hid the births? Or were they just that arrogant? Let me know your thoughts. Smash that like button if you stand with the transparency of the working royals like William and Catherine, and subscribe so we can keep watching this history unfold. Stay sharp, neighbors. The truth is coming, and it's written in ink, not PR spin. Ta-ta, and bye for now.